Hey, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. You guys know how much I love digging into these books you send in, and today is no exception. We're going to be talking about designing a life you love, not just one you just kind of fall into. And our deep dive today is going to be based on excerpts you sent in from the book Life by Design by Laura Morton and Tom Ferry.
This book is amazing.
Yeah.
I was hooked right away.
Okay, tell me, what was the hook? What was so interesting?
Well, they have this metaphor about waking up from a coma,
Okay.
which is about like breaking free from living on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
So much of our lives, it's been just reacting
Yeah.
instead of consciously making choices.
It's so true. Okay, so the book talks about living by default versus by design, but what does that actually mean?
Yeah, great question. Living by default is basically letting life happen to you,
Mhm.
like being driven by circumstances or other people's expectations,
Mhm.
or just kind of going with the flow. But living by design means you're making choices, conscious choices, that are aligned with what you want. You're in control.
I love that. So it really is like taking control of the wheel, right? Not just letting life drive you wherever.
Exactly.
Okay, so then what's stopping us from living this way? Living by design. Is it just willpower? Do we just need to like try harder?
I wish it were that easy.
Okay.
But Ferry identifies these four addictions. It's worry, the opinions of others, drama, and the past.
Okay, addictions is a strong word, but I get it. Those things can really hold us back. Okay.
Yeah. And they're not your typical, like, substance addictions, but they're just as powerful in keeping us stuck.
Okay, yeah, totally. I mean, I know I'm definitely guilty of the opinions of others thing. It's so hard not to care what other people think.
Yeah, it's human nature, I think.
Totally. So why are those four addictions so hard to break free from?
Well, let's think about it. Worry, right?
Right.
That's all about trying to control the future.
Yeah.
But we can't. Opinions of others, it's about, like, wanting to belong and feel validated. Drama keeps us distracted from facing our own issues and clinging to the past. Well, that's what stops us from moving forward.
Yeah.
So they're all playing on our insecurities, right?
Yeah.
And they're like our basic human desires.
It makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. But here's the thing. I'm sure we all know people who have like overcome incredible challenges and still created amazing lives. So how do we break free from these default patterns even when life throws us curveballs?
Well, that's where Ferry really emphasizes the importance of choice. You always have a choice. He tells this really powerful story about Rudy Garcia Tolson.
Okay.
As a child, Rudy chose to have his legs amputated so that he could run and play. It's pretty extreme.
Wow.
It's a powerful example that even when facing really tough stuff, we have the power to choose.
Wow, that is a really powerful example. It really does drive home the point that like even our toughest circumstances, they don't define us. Our choices do. So how do we start making choices that lead to a life by design? Like does the book give us some sort of roadmap?
It does. It lays out 6 steps
Okay.
to move from living by default to by design.
Okay.
And the first step is to wake up from your coma, to use his metaphor.
Okay, I love that. How do we wake up and like really become aware of where we're on autopilot?
Okay, so Ferry tells this story of 2 siblings, right, who grew up with the same opportunities,
Mhm.
but one ended up living miserably and the other was thriving. And the difference, it was their choices. This first step is about seeing those areas where you've settled for less than what you deserve.
I think a lot of us are kind of afraid to really look at those areas, right? Because it means admitting that we might not be as in control as we thought we
Well,
were.
totally. But the truth is, even if it's uncomfortable, it's the only way to make real changes. So then the second step follows that. It's called make the choice to change. It's about making that conscious decision
Okay.
to break free from those autopilot habits.
I imagine this step can be really hard, though, not only for ourselves, but for the people around us who are used to us doing things a certain way.
Oh, absolutely. Ferry actually warns about something he calls enablers. The well-meaning people who reinforce those old behaviors. It's not about blaming anyone, but recognizing that changing can disrupt the status quo.
Yeah, that makes sense. Does he give like any real life examples?
He does. He talks about, imagine choosing a healthier lifestyle, right? But your partner isn't ready.
Oh, yeah.
Or like leaving a job that's killing your soul, even if it means some financial uncertainty. They're tough choices, but sometimes they're necessary.
Okay, so we've woken up, we've made the choice to change. What's next? Do we just like jump right into making big changes?
Not so fast. Step 3 is create your life by design. And this is the fun part, where you dream big.
Okay.
Ferry says, define what you truly want without limitations, without self-doubt. And he actually shares these 6 really powerful questions. His mentor, Mike Vance, came up with them to help you really figure out what you want and then create a vision for your life.
I've read The Secret. I don't know if you're familiar.
Sure.
And I've thought a lot about that, about the law of attraction and manifesting what you want. Does Ferry, like, buy into that stuff?
He does, but he's cautious about oversimplifying it. He believes in the power of visualization, but he emphasizes that it has to be paired with action.
Okay, so it's not just, like, wishing and hoping.
No, it's about working towards your vision, right?
Yeah.
He uses this great analogy, like imagine planting corn and expecting tomatoes to grow.
Yeah.
It's about putting in the right effort.
I like that analogy. Does he have any practical tips, like, for how we actually make those dreams happen?
He does. He talks about creating a vision board,
Okay.
a tangible reminder of your goals.
Yeah.
But he doesn't see it as like a Pinterest project or anything.
Huh.
It's a tool, he says, like a GPS for your life
Okay.
to guide you.
That's so cool. All right, so we've got our vision. We're ready to take action. What's step 4?
It's called Do Things That Bring You Power. So now we're getting into like the details. This is about creating routines and rituals that support your goals. He's big on morning routines, and he actually shares his own in the book. He cleans his slate, writes a gratitude list, and declares his intentions for the day.
Wait, so do we all have to follow his routine exactly to be successful? Because I am not a morning person at all.
No, not at all. The key is to find what energizes you,
Okay.
what makes you feel good. The takeaway is to find things that help you start your day feeling empowered and focused.
Okay.
And he also stresses you time, making time for things that recharge you,
Oh, that's so important.
whether it's reading, spending time in nature, anything,
Yeah.
whatever you like.
Yeah. Like, it's that reminder to put on your own oxygen mask first, right?
Exactly.
If we're running on empty all the time, we can't possibly create the life we want.
I couldn't agree more. You have to nurture yourself to create sustainable change, both physically and mentally.
Okay, I'm ready for step 5. What's next?
This one is all about visualization. And I know some people are like, oh, that's a little woo for me. But Ferry backs it up with science. He shares this study about a basketball team that only visualized free throws, and they actually outperformed the team that physically practiced them.
Wow, really? So just imagining yourself succeeding can actually improve performance. That's pretty crazy. You know, I've always struggled with visualization. I just can't picture things clearly in my mind.
Yeah, that's common.
Okay.
But Ferry addresses that.
Yeah.
He provides techniques to make it more real, even for those of us who are not good at it.
Okay.
Like he actually walks you through a couple exercises. One where you visualize a lemon to engage all your senses,
Okay.
and another where you picture yourself living your ideal life. The goal is to make those mental images so vivid and emotionally charged that they pull you towards your goals.
Oh, I like that.
It's not just daydreaming. It's about engaging your imagination.
To create a blueprint. I love that.
Yes.
Okay, so what's step 6?
All right, step 6 is all about accountability. Create structure and accountability. It helps bridge the gap between dreaming and doing.
Okay. I know accountability is important, but it can be kind of scary, like having someone constantly watching over you. So how does Ferry approach it?
Well, he knows it can be uncomfortable, but he uses what we were talking about before, that addiction to other people's opinions, but uses it to our advantage.
Okay.
So he encourages you to tell people about your goals
Oh,
because that external pressure can really help you. And he shares some of his own accountability practices, like having an affirmation partner and what he calls a 10-question buddy, someone to help keep you focused.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He even talks about using money as a motivator.
Money as a motivator. What does that even mean?
Well, he's had clients who actually write checks to people or organizations they despise,
Well, what?
with the understanding that if they don't reach their goals, those checks get sent.
Oh, wow.
It's a little extreme, but it shows how important it is to have meaningful consequences to stay motivated.
Well, yeah.
And then he also has this really fun game he plays with his kids called Money is Everywhere,
Okay.
where they basically look for pennies on the ground and affirm that money is abundant and easy to attract.
Oh, that's cool. Like reframing their whole mindset
Exactly.
from scarcity to abundance. Okay, that's cool.
So it's not about punishment. It's about creative ways to keep yourself moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. It's great. And it's so interesting how all these 6 steps, they provide a framework, but it's really up to us to figure out what works for us.
It is. It's about customizing it
Yeah.
for your own needs.
It feels so empowering, actually. Like we don't have to fit into someone else's mold.
You don't.
It's really cool. Wow. Okay, we've covered so much already, and I feel like we're just getting started.
I know, right? There's so much more to talk about.
I know.
I'm excited to dive into the rest of the book. You know what I really like about this book? It doesn't just focus on external strategies. It really dives into the internal stuff, like
Mhm.
the psychology behind our choices.
Right. It really seems to get how much our thoughts, like, actually influence our reality.
Totally. And he goes beyond just think positive and actually explains how our brains work,
Okay.
like giving us the user manual we never got.
Yeah, yeah.
He talks about the conscious and subconscious mind and this constant chatter in our heads. He calls it self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
And most of us, he says, are running on negative self-talk, full of doubts and fears and limiting beliefs.
Okay, well, that's kind of scary. I mean, we all have negative thoughts sometimes, right? Is he saying we have to completely eliminate them to be successful?
Well, not necessarily eliminate them, but reprogram them.
Okay.
Because think about it. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined.
Oh, okay.
So if we keep feeding it these negative thoughts, like, I can't, I'm not good enough,
Bleh.
she couldn't believe it. Like, it's like having this program running in the background that's sabotaging us.
Wow. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So then how do we change that programming? Do we just try to, like, ignore those negative thoughts?
It's not that easy. Ignoring them doesn't make them go away. One of the tools Ferry offers is affirmations.
Okay.
Now, I know some people might roll their eyes at that, but
Yeah, I'll admit I'm a little skeptical.
I get it.
Yeah.
But Ferry's approach, it's different. He explains that affirmations are positive statements,
Mm.
present tense,
Oh.
and you repeat them to yourself to reprogram that subconscious mind.
Okay.
And he actually has research to back it up.
Really?
Yeah. Studies show that the conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time.
Okay.
So if you're actively focusing on an affirmation, you're crowding out the negative thoughts.
That makes a lot of sense, like replacing an old negative program with a new empowering one.
Exactly.
But how do you make those affirmations feel less, I don't know, cheesy?
Well, Ferry has a technique. It's going beyond just saying the words. He calls it affirmations in action,
Okay.
where you incorporate physical actions
Oh,
to
interesting.
really engage your whole body and mind.
Oh, okay.
Like clapping your hands, striking a power pose,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
or even visualizing yourself succeeding while you say it.
I love that. It makes it feel more real.
Yes. And actually, he tells this really cute story about his son, Michael,
Uh,
who was like resistant to affirmations at first.
Yeah, that sounds about right for a kid.
Totally. But Michael had to give a big presentation at school, and instinctively he used these techniques and totally nailed it
That's awesome. It shows these tools can work for anyone.
at any age. Yeah.
Mm.
Now, Ferry actually takes this idea of affirmations even further with what he calls dream everything.
Oh, okay. So like visualization on steroids?
Pretty much. Visualizing your ideal future in such detail,
Yeah.
engaging all your senses, like, feeling the emotions as if it were happening right now.
This sounds really powerful, but what happens when real life throws us a curveball? Like, we can't control everything.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And Ferry acknowledges that.
Mhm.
He tells this story about using dream everything when his wife was pregnant with their son. And he visualized this healthy, happy baby, right?
Mhm.
But he kind of overlooked one detail. He didn't specifically visualize his son being born with healthy eyes. And as it turns out, his son needed surgery for a vision problem.
Oh, wow. That's a really powerful story. It shows that even with the best intentions, things don't always go exactly as planned.
Right. And that's where adaptability comes in.
Okay.
Living by design, it's a process, not a one-time achievement. It's about being willing to revisit your plans and tweak things when you need to.
Yeah, so it's not about freaking out when things go off course. It's about having the flexibility to adjust.
Exactly.
Okay.
And those challenges, he says, they're opportunities
Yeah.
to learn and grow.
So it's not about avoiding setbacks. It's about using them to our advantage.
I like that.
It's a more empowering perspective, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And Ferry really emphasizes that we don't have to do this alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a big believer in finding support, mentors, coaches, accountability partners, anything like that,
It's true. It's so much easier to stick with something when you have people supporting you.
for sure. And he also talks about creating a healthy environment for ourselves, both physically and mentally.
So it's not just about mindset. It's about taking care of our bodies as well.
Right. And he actually lays out 10 specific actions we can take to boost our energy, improve our health, and create a foundation for growth.
Okay, so what are some examples?
Well, he talks about sleep, getting enough rest,
Oh, so important.
right? And managing stress,
Yeah.
you know, using mindfulness and meditation. And then, of course, nourishing our bodies with good food.
Okay. So it's all about taking care of ourselves so we have the energy to do all this work to design the life we want.
Yes. And he even talks about something we were talking about before, you time.
Oh, yeah,
Making
yeah.
time to recharge and connect with ourselves and do things that bring us joy.
That's so important, but it's so easy to feel guilty about it. Like it's selfish.
Well, Ferry reframes it
Okay, how?
as a necessary part of living by design.
Oh, I like that.
He compares it to plugging in our devices.
Okay.
We make sure our phones and laptops are charged every day, but we forget to plug in ourselves.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good point. We can't expect ourselves to function at our best if we're constantly running on empty.
Exactly. That's where burnout and fatigue and lack of motivation come from.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this is all great for our personal well-being, but what about the practical stuff like finances, career? Does Ferry address those things?
He does. He actually dedicates a whole section to the financial aspect.
Okay, cool.
And he doesn't shy away from the fact that money is important, but he sees it as a tool, a resource we can use to create a life of abundance. And not just material possessions, but also in terms of experiences, freedom, impact.
So it's not about chasing wealth for wealth's sake. It's about using it to create the life we want.
Right. And he shares some pretty unconventional tactics for financial accountability.
Right.
Remember we were talking about him using money as a motivator before?
Yeah, yeah. With the checks.
Yeah. He's actually had clients write checks to people they don't like with the agreement that if they don't reach their goals, those checks get sent.
Wow. That's taking accountability to a whole new level.
It is. But it's about finding what works, what really motivates you. He also talks about having a healthy mindset around money based on abundance, not scarcity.
Right.
And remember that game he plays with his kids?
Yeah, money is everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
It's all about shifting the focus from I don't have enough to there's more than enough.
So powerful, right? To change your whole perspective.
It is. And then Ferry talks about paying attention to what he calls confirmation signs.
Confirmation signs? What are those?
Think of them like synchronicities, those aha moments, the little nudges from the universe,
Wow.
confirming you're on the right path.
Wow.
And he says, once you start living by design, you'll start noticing these signs everywhere.
So it's like the universe is supporting us when we're aligned with our purpose.
Yeah. It's about recognizing those moments where things just seem to fall into place.
Okay. But how do you know if it's a real sign or just like your imagination?
You got to trust your intuition.
Okay.
Be open to the possibilities and just recognize when things seem to effortlessly happen.
It's like that saying, when you're aligned with your purpose, the universe conspires to help you.
Exactly. And these synchronicities, they might have gone unnoticed when we were on autopilot.
This is all so fascinating. I'm really starting to see how it all fits together. The mindset work, the practical strategies, taking care of ourselves. It's like a holistic approach to creating a life you love.
It is. And, one of the most powerful themes in the book is this idea of choice. Ferry's constantly reminding us that we always have a choice, even when things are really hard.
Like with Rudy Garcia Tolson, the boy who chose to have his legs amputated. That was such a powerful example.
It was. In his story, it's not just about overcoming physical limitations. It's about the power of believing in a future that's bigger than your present circumstances.
So inspiring. We're not victims of our circumstances. We have the power to choose something different.
And Ferry wants us to make that choice, to get out of our comfort zones, embrace the unknown, and design a life that really reflects our values.
I love that. Wow, we've covered so much. I feel like I'm seeing the world in a whole new way.
Like those aha moments.
Exactly.
But get ready, because there's still more to come. In the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore this concept of belief and how it shapes our reality. You won't want to miss it.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into life by design. And, we've been talking about all these different concepts and strategies, but there's this underlying theme throughout the whole book, the power of belief.
It really is the foundation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it shapes our thoughts and actions and ultimately our outcomes.
Yeah.
Ferry argues that we can choose our beliefs.
I think we've all heard that, like believe in yourself. But sometimes it feels a bit too simple, So how does Ferry go beyond just that basic idea?
Well, he uses real-world examples.
Okay.
And he really understands, like psychology.
Yeah.
He shares this story about a guy named Ben Coleman.
Okay.
Ben had cerebral palsy.
Wow.
and he became a cross-country runner.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is. Doctors told him he would never walk, let alone run.
Yeah.
But Ben just had this unshakable belief in himself,
Yeah.
this vision,
Mm-hmm.
and he proved everyone wrong.
That's so incredible. It really shows that believing in something can make it possible, even when it seems impossible to everyone else.
Right. But Ferry also points out that belief alone isn't enough.
Okay.
You need action.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He talks about creating a year plan,
Mm.
breaking down your goals, and
Yeah.
consistently taking action towards your vision. He
Yeah.
compares it to like climbing a mountain.
Okay.
You don't just magically teleport to the top.
Yeah.
It takes effort. You have to navigate the terrain.
You have to keep going, even when it's hard.
Exactly. And speaking of challenges, he also says it's important to celebrate wins along the way, no matter how small they are. It reinforces your belief in yourself. He suggests keeping a success journal
Oh, I like that idea.
to track all your wins.
Yeah.
It's easy to forget how far you've come.
Yeah, we can get so focused on what we haven't done yet.
Right.
Okay, that's a good reminder.
And another thing he talks about is gratitude,
Okay.
making it a daily practice, taking time to really appreciate the good things, even the small things.
You know, I've heard that gratitude can bring more good things into your life, but sometimes it feels forced.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, I should be grateful, but I don't always feel it.
Ferry acknowledges that. He says it's not always easy, especially when things are tough.
Mm-hmm.
And he shares this technique he calls cleaning your slate,
Oh,
starting each day by letting go of negativity or resentment from the past.
Okay.
So you're approaching the day fresh, with possibility.
Like hitting the reset button.
Exactly. And he actually connects gratitude to success. He says that successful people are often the most grateful. They recognize that their achievements are not just because of them, but because of the support they received along the way.
It's a more humble way of looking at things. It's not about taking all the credit for yourself.
Exactly. It's a team effort. Now, Ferry does point out that sometimes when you start living by design, you might get some resistance from the people around you.
Really? Why would people resist us trying to improve our lives?
Well, he calls them defaulters,
Okay.
those who are comfortable with the status quo and feel kind of threatened when others try to change. It's not that they're bad people, it's just that change can be scary, even for those we love.
That makes sense. So how do you deal with that? Do you just ignore them and do your own thing?
He recommends a balance of compassion and being firm. You can't force people to change, but you can inspire them by just living your life. You don't need to convince anyone. Your actions will speak for themselves.
Yeah, it's about living authentically, not trying to preach to people.
Right. And when it comes to dealing with setbacks, Ferry has a really interesting technique. He suggests saying, it's perfect whenever you encounter a challenge.
It's perfect when things go wrong. That seems kind of strange.
I know.
Okay.
But he says it's a way to reframe those challenges as opportunities. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what can I learn from this?
Okay, so it's about finding that silver lining.
Yes. And he even tells this funny story about a client who turned a series of bad things that happened to him into, like, 3 new business opportunities.
It's amazing how our biggest challenges can actually lead to our greatest successes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway is that this is a journey, not a destination. Ferry's given us these tools and a new way of thinking, but it's up to us to make it our own.
It's about finding what works for you and being open to constantly evolving.
Exactly. It's about progress and becoming the best versions of ourselves, waking up every day with a sense of purpose, and being excited to create a life that's meaningful.
And the most important thing is to believe that we can have the life we want. That belief and taking action is how we unlock our potential.
So take what you've learned and start designing a life that lights you up, a life that makes you feel truly alive.
That's such a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into life by design. Until next time, keep designing, keep believing, and keep living a life that's by design, not by default.